I used to think the worst part of losing Daniel was watching him leave our apartment with 2 suitcases and a goodbye so cold it felt like a stranger had said it. Is that all? I had asked. Daniel had looked around the living room. What else is there? I wanted to say us. 4 years. The plans we had made. The promises he had whispered when we had nothing. Instead, I stood there while he picked up his second suitcase. You're really leaving? I'm tired, Ethan. Of me? He sighed. Of this life. That answer stayed with me long after the door closed. For 4 years, I had believed love meant giving without limits. When Daniel wanted a holiday, I booked it. When he admired a car, I helped him buy it. When his business idea needed money, I invested before he had even finished explaining it. James had warned me, you know you don't have to buy every problem out of his life, right? I'm not buying anything, I told him. I'm supporting him. James leaned back in his chair. There's a difference. I had ignored him. 3 months after Daniel left, an envelope arrived at my office. Maya walked in as I opened it. What's that? A wedding invitation. She smiled. Anyone we know? I pulled out the card, and my smile disappeared. Maya noticed immediately. Oh, Daniel. Her expression hardened. You're Daniel. My ex-Daniel. What does it say? I handed her the invitation. She read it slowly. Daniel Brooks and Oliver Grant request the pleasure of your company. I laughed once, but there was nothing funny about it. Well, Maya said, that's bold. Bold. He left you 3 months ago, and now he's inviting you to watch him marry someone else. Maybe it was automatic. She stared at me. Automatic? Maybe he sent invitations to everyone. Ethan. What? Stop defending him before anyone even attacks him. I looked down again. The wedding was at the Grand Kensington Hotel. I knew the place. Daniel and I had once walked past it during our first year together. One day, he had said, squeezing my hand, we'll walk in there like we belong. Now he was getting married there. Maya sat across from me. Are you going? No. Good. I didn't say I was going. You were thinking about it. I was not. You get that look when you're lying. I put the invitation down. It doesn't matter. Then Maya's eyes narrowed. Wait. What? Where's your black card? My hand stopped. I opened my wallet. The space was empty. Maya stood up. Ethan. I searched my desk, jacket, and pockets. I must have moved it. When did you last use it? I thought about Daniel's last week in the apartment. He had stood in the kitchen, nervous and unusually quiet. Can I borrow your card? He had asked. For what? An emergency business expense. I'll return it tomorrow. And I had handed it to him without asking another question. Maya crossed her arms. Cancel it. He probably forgot to return it. No. I looked at her. She stepped closer. You forgot to stop letting him take from you. My chest tightened. That's not fair. Neither was what he did to you. You don't know that he used it. Then call him. I did. Once. Twice. 3 times. No answer. My phone buzzed. Daniel, don't make this difficult. I'll return everything after the wedding. I read it. Maya whispered. What did he mean by everything? I didn't answer, because for the first time, I was beginning to wonder the same thing. Maya took my phone from my hand before I could type a reply. Hey. You're shaking. I'm not. You are. I looked at my hands. She was right. What do you want to say to him? She asked. I swallowed. I don't know. That's the problem. You always know what to say to Daniel. You just choose the words that hurt you least. The office door opened before I could answer. James walked in carrying 2 coffees. Bad time. Maya handed him the invitation. Very. He read it, then looked at me. You've got to be kidding. Apparently not. His eyes dropped to my phone. What happened? I showed him Daniel's message. James became quiet. Call the bank. I want to talk to Daniel first. No. I looked at him. No. No, Ethan. You call the bank first. Then you talk to Daniel. It could be a misunderstanding. Maya laughed bitterly. What part of I'll return everything after the wedding sounds misunderstood? I hated that they were both right. Still, I said, Daniel wouldn't steal from me. James put the coffee down. He already kept your card after breaking up with you. He said he'd return it. After his wedding. I looked away. James lowered his voice. You know what worries me? What? That you're more afraid of being wrong about him than you are of what he might be doing to you. The words landed hard. My phone rang. For 1 second, I thought it was Daniel. It wasn't. The caller ID showed my bank. Maya pointed at the screen. Answer it. I took a breath and accepted the call. Hello, this is Ethan Walker. Good afternoon, Mr. Walker. This is Natalie from your card services team. Is now a convenient time? My stomach tightened. Yes. We're calling to confirm several unusually large transactions connected to your account. I sat down slowly. What transactions? I'm afraid I'll need to verify your identity before discussing the details. After answering her questions, I gripped the edge of my desk. Now tell me. There have been multiple charges over the last 48 hours. How much? There was a short pause. Just over £87,000. The room went silent. Maya stared at me. James whispered, Ethan. I could barely speak. Where? Natalie said, the charges are connected to the Grand Kensington Hotel. I stopped breathing for a moment. Daniel's wedding hotel. What exactly was paid for? Several event-related services, private rooms, catering deposits, and accommodation. I closed my eyes. Can you tell me who made the transactions? I can tell you the card was physically presented for some charges and used for others through the account information. My voice came out low. Cancel it. Natalie paused. Mr. Walker. Cancel the card. Maya touched my shoulder. Then I looked at Daniel's message again. Don't make this difficult. Something inside me finally changed. I understood. Daniel had not forgotten my black card. He was using it to pay for his wedding. As I stared at the invitation, one question now burned through me. If he could spend my money to marry another man, what else had Daniel been hiding from me all along? And suddenly, losing him was no longer the worst thing that had happened to me. Trusting him had been. I sat alone in my office, staring at the transaction list on my computer screen. Hotel suite. Private dining room. Flowers. Entertainment. Alcohol. Guest accommodation. Every line felt like a personal insult. Maya stood behind me. Say something. I kept staring at the screen. £87,000. That's what we know about. I looked at her. What do you mean? I mean Daniel had your card for 3 months. James walked toward my desk. She's right. I leaned back. Don't what? Don't both start acting like I'm stupid. Maya crossed her arms. You weren't stupid, Ethan. You trusted someone. But if you keep ignoring this, then you're choosing not to see what's in front of you. Her words made me angry because they were true. I remembered every time I had questioned Daniel about money. One evening, I had noticed a large payment from my account. Daniel, what was this for? He had looked offended. Do you trust me or not? That isn't what I asked. You're counting every pound I spend now. I just want to understand. He had smiled sadly. After everything we've been through, you think I'd use you. And every time, I apologized. Every time, I chose trust. James pulled a chair closer. You need to call the card company. I already told them to freeze the card. Good. But I haven't reported Daniel. Maya stared at me. Why not? Because once I do that, this becomes real. She leaned forward. Ethan, it became real when he paid for his wedding with your money. I looked away. James spoke quietly. You don't need revenge. You need boundaries. I repeated his words inside my head. Not revenge. Boundaries. There was a difference, but I had never been good at seeing it. I picked up my phone and called the card company again. After verification, I said, Daniel Brooks is no longer authorized to use my card or my account. Understood, Mr. Walker. Would you like to dispute the recent transactions? Yes. My voice almost broke. Yes, I do. When the call ended, Maya released a breath. Finally. It doesn't feel good. It wasn't supposed to feel good. James nodded. Doing the right thing often feels worse when you've spent years doing the opposite. My phone rang again. This time, the name on the screen made me pause. Amelia Stone. My lawyer. Hello. Ethan, James told me what happened. Of course he did. James raised both hands. I called because you needed a lawyer. Amelia continued. Before you do anything else, document every transaction, every message, and every conversation. I want the card cancelled. You can cancel it, but listen to me first. I'm listening. Your bank told us the hotel may be holding the card as a guarantee for multiple guest reservations. I frowned. How many? Possibly dozens. I went silent. If I cancelled everything immediately, Daniel would suffer. But so would people who had done nothing to me. And suddenly, the decision was no longer simple. I wanted Daniel to face the consequences. I just wasn't sure who else would fall with him. My phone buzzed again. This time, the caller was from the Grand Kensington Hotel. I answered slowly. Mr. Walker. Yes. This is Sophie Bennett. We need to discuss your account. My grip tightened around the phone. I knew, before she said another word, that the conversation was about to change everything. Sophie Bennett, the voice said again. I'm the events manager at the Grand Kensington. I looked at Maya and James. Go ahead. There is an issue regarding the card connected to Mr. Brooks's wedding arrangements. What issue? I need to confirm a few details with you directly. Ask. Did you personally authorize Daniel Brooks to use your black card for the wedding? The question hit me harder than I expected. No. There was silence. I sat forward. Sophie. I understand. Did you authorize him to use the card for hotel reservations, guest guarantees, or wedding expenses? No. Maya covered her mouth. James looked toward the window. I asked, why are you asking me this? Sophie took a careful breath. Mr. Walker, when the reservations were arranged, Mr. Brooks presented himself as the authorized cardholder. For a moment, I said nothing. My anger disappeared. Something colder replaced it. Say that again. Mr. Brooks presented himself as the authorized cardholder. You mean he told the hotel the card was his? I cannot discuss every detail of the reservation, but based on our records, he represented that he had authority to use it. I closed my eyes. I could forgive someone for being desperate. I could even understand fear. But lying was different. Daniel had known exactly what he was doing. Mr. Walker, Sophie said, we need instructions. I opened my eyes. What happens if I cancel everything? The hotel would need to request another valid method of payment. And the guests? Some reservations may be affected. That was the problem. Daniel deserved consequences. The people attending his wedding did not. I stood and walked toward the window. Maya followed me. Don't save him again. I'm thinking. You always say that when you're trying to find a way to rescue him. That's not fair. Isn't it? I turned around. For years, I had believed protecting Daniel meant loving him. But every time I protected him from consequences, I had also protected the version of him that kept hurting me. James spoke from behind his desk. You have 3 choices. I looked at him. Go on. First, you pay and pretend this never happened. Not happening. Second, you cancel everything immediately. And innocent guests suffer. Third, you let the hotel follow its normal procedures. Maya nodded slowly. James continued, you don't need to destroy Daniel. You don't need to save him either. I thought about his words. Then I picked up the phone again. Sophie. Yes, Mr. Walker. I'm not coming to the hotel to cause a scene. Understood. I'm not calling Daniel and screaming at him. There was another pause. Then what would you like us to do? I looked at Daniel's message. Don't make this difficult. A bitter smile touched my face. For 3 months, he had spent my money while building a new life. And I had still been worried about making things difficult for him. I finally understood how deeply I had trained myself to accept less than I deserved. Sophie, I said quietly, do exactly what your policies require. Are you certain? Yes. If Mr. Brooks cannot provide valid payment, there may be serious consequences for the event. That's not my decision anymore. I ended the call. Maya watched me carefully. How do you feel? I looked at the wedding invitation lying on my desk. Horrible. James nodded. That will pass. And if Daniel calls? Maya answered before James could. Then, for once, let him explain himself. My phone began ringing almost immediately. Daniel. I stared at his name. My thumb hovered over the screen. Then I turned the phone face down. For the first time since Daniel left me, I stopped trying to protect him. And whatever happened next would finally be his responsibility. I stood across the street from the Grand Kensington Hotel and wondered how a building could hold so many memories that did not belong to it. Cars stopped outside the entrance. Guests stepped out dressed for Daniel's wedding. Flowers covered the doorway. I should have hated the place. Instead, I remembered a cheap hotel room from 4 years earlier. Daniel and I had been 23, broke, and hungry. We can't afford dinner, I had said. Daniel laughed. Then we'll eat biscuits. Romantic. I'm serious, Ethan. One day, when we're successful, we'll come back to London and celebrate how far we came. I had believed him. Now he was celebrating without me. And, somehow, I was still paying for it. My phone buzzed. Sophie, I'm ready to meet you privately. I crossed the street. Sophie was waiting near a quiet side entrance. Mr. Walker. Please. Ethan. Ethan, thank you for coming. What happened? She led me into a small meeting room. The payment authorization has been frozen. I nodded. Did Daniel give you another card? Sophie looked uncomfortable. We gave him several opportunities. And he was unable to provide a valid alternative. I laughed once. It sounded empty, so he really thought I would save him. I can't speak for his intentions. You don't have to. Sophie placed a folder on the table. Before you go inside, I want you to understand something. We have followed our procedures carefully. I know. Mr. Brooks may claim that this was unexpected. It wasn't. He received notices. I'm sure he ignored them. Sophie studied me. Are you certain you want to proceed? That question hurt more than I expected. I thought about Daniel. I remembered his laugh, his hand in mine, and every night I had told myself that giving more would make him stay. Then I remembered the message. Don't make this difficult. I looked at Sophie. What happens now? The hotel requires immediate payment before we continue providing certain services. And if he can't pay, some arrangements will be suspended. Not the guests. We will do our best to avoid affecting anyone unnecessarily. I nodded. Good. Sophie opened the door. You can still leave, Ethan. I almost did. Then I heard music from the reception hall. My feet carried me toward it. Daniel saw me before I reached the entrance. His face changed instantly. Shock. Then anger. What are you doing here? I stopped a few feet away. I was going to ask you the same thing. What are you doing with my card? Daniel glanced around. Lower your voice. Why? Because this is my wedding. I laughed. Exactly. He grabbed my arm. Come with me. I pulled free. Don't touch me. Ethan, please. For 3 months, you ignored my calls. Now you're saying please. His jaw tightened. You're trying to embarrass me. No, I'm asking you a question. I told you I'd pay you back. With what money, Daniel? He said nothing. I stepped closer. That's what I thought. His eyes filled with anger. You don't understand. Then explain it. I had a plan. What plan? I was going to sort everything out after today. After marrying someone else with my money. You make it sound terrible. I stared at him. Daniel, listen to yourself. For the first time, he looked afraid. And that frightened me too, because a part of me still wanted to rescue him. But I had not come here to rescue anyone. Behind him, I noticed guests beginning to turn toward us. The moment I had feared was here. This time, I would run from the truth. Daniel moved closer to me. Please, he whispered, not here. I looked around the reception hall. Then where? Daniel, your apartment? My office? My phone? I tried all of those. You didn't understand what was happening. Then help me understand now. His voice dropped. I was going to fix it. With what money? He looked away. That was answer enough. Before I could say another word, a man stepped between us. Is there a problem? I knew immediately who he was. Oliver Grant. He looked exactly like the photographs Daniel had posted online. Perfect suit. Expensive watch. Calm expression. Daniel forced a smile. No problem. I looked at him. There is a problem. Oliver turned toward me. And you are? Ethan Walker. His expression changed slightly. Daniel's ex. That's one way to describe me. Daniel stepped forward. Oliver, don't listen to him. I laughed. That would be familiar, wouldn't it? Oliver frowned. Daniel whispered, Ethan, stop. No. You spent 3 months avoiding me. You don't get to decide when I stop. Oliver looked between us. What is this about? I answered before Daniel could. My black card. Daniel's face went pale. Oliver looked confused. What about it? Asked Daniel. I'm asking you. I took a breath. Your wedding has been paid for using my account. Oliver stared at Daniel. That's not true. Daniel immediately shook his head. He's upset because I left him. I felt something inside me break. Even now, even standing in front of me, he was still lying. Oliver looked at me carefully. Are you trying to ruin my wedding because you're jealous? For a moment, anger rose inside me. Then I remembered James. You don't need revenge. You need boundaries. I don't want Daniel back, I said. I want my money back. Oliver turned toward Daniel. Tell me he's lying. Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. That silence changed everything. Then Sophie entered the hall with 2 members of hotel security. Mr. Brooks, she said calmly, we need to speak with you regarding the payment arrangements. Daniel spun around. Not now. I'm afraid it cannot wait. Oliver stared at him. What payment arrangements? Sophie looked toward me briefly before answering. The payment authorization connected to this event is no longer valid. Daniel stepped closer to her. You said we had time. We gave you several opportunities to provide an alternative method of payment. I told you I would, but you have not. Oliver's voice became sharp. Daniel, what is going on? Daniel rubbed his face. It was supposed to be handled. I looked at him. By me. He glared at me. Sophie continued. Before the event can continue, the outstanding balance must be addressed immediately. Oliver turned toward Daniel. You said everything was paid. Daniel whispered. It was supposed to be. The music stopped. I didn't know who had stopped it, but suddenly the room felt much larger and much quieter. Guests began whispering. Daniel looked at me. Ethan. I knew that voice. It was the same voice he used whenever he wanted something from me. Please. Everyone seemed to look at me. Oliver, Daniel, Sophie, even the hotel staff. They all knew I could solve this. One payment, one phone call, one decision. For years, Daniel had made me feel like I needed him. But now I understood something different. He needed me, and he had expected me to come running. I could pay. I could save his wedding. I could let him thank me, promise me everything would change, and then walk back to Oliver. But I was tired. Tired of being useful only when someone else was desperate. Daniel took another step toward me. Please. Just this once. I looked straight into his eyes. No. His face fell. Oliver looked away. Sophie spoke quietly into her radio. Within minutes, the consequences began. The private dining service was suspended. Several remaining hotel arrangements were placed on hold. The reception room could not remain open without a confirmed payment agreement. Confusion spread through the guests. What's happening? Is the wedding cancelled? Daniel, what did you do? I stood still. Daniel grabbed my arm. Ethan, please, don't do this to me. I pulled my arm away. My voice stayed calm. Daniel, I didn't do this to you. He stared at me. I just stopped doing everything for you. And as the reception doors closed behind Sophie, I realized the wedding was not the only thing that had finally come to an end. The morning after Daniel's wedding collapsed, I woke up to 17 missed calls. None of them were from Daniel. That almost made it worse. I picked up my phone and saw dozens of messages, articles, and social media posts. Maya walked into my apartment holding her own phone. Have you seen this? I just woke up. Daniel has been talking. I sat up. Talking about what? She handed me the phone. Daniel had posted a statement. He claimed I had attended his wedding because I could not accept our breakup. He said I had used my influence and money to destroy the happiest day of his life. I read it twice. Then I laughed. Maya stared at me. Why are you laughing? Because apparently I'm the villain now. You're not laughing because it's funny. No. My smile disappeared. I'm laughing because I expected this. Did you? No. She sat beside me. Ethan, don't read the comments. I already Stop. People believe him. People believe whatever story they see first. I put the phone down. For the first time, I wondered if I had gone too far. James called an hour later. Don't do anything stupid. That's a strange way to say good morning. I mean, don't respond publicly. What if I want to? Then call me before you do. I didn't ruin his wedding. I know. Everyone else doesn't. James became quiet. Then he said, you need to decide whether you want to win an argument or protect your peace. I hated how sensible he sounded. Easy for you to say. No, Ethan. Easy would have been paying for the wedding. I ended the call without answering. For most of the day, I kept thinking about Daniel. I remembered him sitting beside me on the sofa after we first moved in together. I don't care about being rich, he had told me. I had believed him. Now I wondered how many things he had said simply because he knew I wanted to hear them. My office door opened. James walked in without knocking. You look terrible. Thank you. I brought news. Good news. That depends. I looked at him. Sit down. James closed the door. Someone contacted me this morning. Who? Lucas Reed. The name meant nothing to me. Should I know him? He used to work for Oliver Grant. I frowned. What does he want? To talk about Oliver. I felt my anger return. I don't care about Oliver. You might after you hear this. James sat across from me. Lucas says Oliver's company isn't doing as well as everyone thinks. What does that have to do with me? Maybe nothing. And maybe Daniel left you because he thought Oliver could give him the life he wanted. I stared at him. That sounds like Daniel. James nodded. But Lucas says Oliver may not have that life either. I leaned forward. Explain. According to Lucas, Oliver has been hiding financial problems. How serious? I don't know yet. Did Lucas give you proof? He says he has documents. I looked toward the window. For a strange moment, I felt no satisfaction. Only sadness. Daniel had left me believing he was moving toward something better. But what if Oliver had been pretending too? James watched my face. You okay? I don't know. That's an honest answer. My phone rang. Daniel. I stared at his name. James looked at me. Are you going to answer? No. The ringing stopped. A second later, another call came. Again, Daniel. I rejected it. Then a third call appeared. This time, I almost answered. My thumb hovered over the screen. I wanted to hear his voice. I wanted to ask him why. Why my money? Why the lies? Why wasn't leaving me enough? But I turned off my phone instead. James watched me carefully. You still love him? I looked at him. I don't know if I love him. What do you mean? I think I love who I thought he was. James nodded slowly. That can be harder to lose. Later that afternoon, Amelia called me. We've made progress recovering the unauthorized payments. That quickly. Some transactions were still pending. And Daniel? What about him? Can I take him to court? There was a pause. You can explore your legal options. But ask yourself what you want. My money back. That's reasonable. And if I want more than that, then you should wait until you are less angry. I leaned back. I'm not angry. Amelia laughed softly. Ethan. Fine. I'm angry. You have every right to be. Just don't let anger make decisions that you will regret later. After the call, I sat alone. Daniel had used me. That was true. But another truth was beginning to hurt me. I had ignored every warning. And I was no longer sure which betrayal hurt more, what Daniel had done to me, or what I had allowed myself to believe. My phone lit up again. This time, it was not Daniel. It was an unknown number. A message appeared. "Ethan, this is Margaret, Daniel's mother. We need to talk." I stared at the screen. I had spent the entire day avoiding Daniel. Now his past was asking me to sit down and listen. And despite everything inside me telling me to say no, I typed one word. "When?" I met Margaret the next evening at a small cafe near the river. I almost left twice before walking in. She was already waiting. "Thank you for coming, Ethan." I nearly didn't. "I know." I sat across from her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I asked, "Did Daniel send you?" "No." "Does he know I'm here?" "No." "Then why am I here?" Margaret looked down at her hands. "Because I saw what happened at the hotel." I felt my body tense. "You were there?" "Yes." "And you watched him use my card?" "I didn't know about the card." "But you knew something was wrong." She looked at me. I knew my son was running from something. I wanted to be angry with her. Instead, I asked, "What?" "Being poor." The answer surprised me. Margaret continued. "When Daniel was young, we didn't have much. There were months when I had to choose which bills to pay first." I said nothing. "He hated it," she whispered. "He hated watching me worry." "That doesn't explain what he did." "I know." "Because he had choices." "Yes." "He could have worked." "Yes." "He could have asked for help." "Yes." My voice became harder. "But he chose to lie to me." Margaret nodded. "I won't defend that." The anger inside me softened slightly. She took a breath. "Daniel loved you, Ethan. But sometimes loving someone isn't the same as choosing them for the right reasons." I stared at her. "That sounds like an excuse." "Maybe." I looked away. She continued quietly. "But I think you should ask yourself something too." I frowned. "What?" "Why did you keep giving him everything?" The question hit me harder than I wanted to admit. I loved him. Is that the only reason? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Margaret gave me a sad smile. "I watched you two together. Daniel needed you. And I think, in some way, you needed to be needed." I felt exposed. I remembered every expensive gift, every problem I solved, every time Daniel came to me, worried and desperate. And I felt relieved because he still needed me. As long as he needed me, I didn't have to wonder if he would leave. The betrayal suddenly became more complicated. Daniel had used me, but I had also used money to quiet my fear. Margaret stood. "I hope one day you can forgive him." "I don't know if I can." "You don't have to decide today." She left me alone with that thought. 3 days later, James called me. "Have you seen the news?" "No." "Look up Oliver's company." I opened my laptop. My stomach tightened as I read. Financial problems. Unpaid obligations. Questions from investors. The perfect life Daniel had chosen was beginning to crack. My phone rang. "Amelia, we've recovered more of the money." "That's good." "There's something else." "What?" "You could take further legal action against Daniel." I was silent. "Ethan." "I know. You have a strong case." "I know. Do you want to proceed?" I looked at the news article about Oliver. Daniel's new life was already falling apart. His relationship was under pressure. His wedding had collapsed. And now the man he believed could give him everything was losing control of his own world. "No," I finally said. "Not yet." "Are you sure?" "No." Amelia sighed. "At least you're honest." That night, my phone started ringing. "Daniel." I ignored the first call. Then the second. Then the third. Each time, my heart reacted before my mind could stop it. Finally, the calls ended. A message appeared. "Daniel, I need to see you. Please. This time, I really need you." I stared at those words for a long time. Once, that message would have been enough. I would have called him immediately. I would have asked where he was. I would have promised to fix everything. But I was no longer sure who I was without the need to save him. My thumb hovered over the screen. Was I ready to face the man who destroyed my trust? Or was I still hoping he would finally give me a reason to forgive him? I didn't reply. "Not yet." I stared at Daniel's message for almost an hour before replying. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. I chose a small cafe near my office. Not a private restaurant. Not a luxury hotel. Not anywhere that could hide the truth behind expensive walls. Maya read my message and frowned. You're really meeting him? Yes. Why? Because I need answers. She looked at me carefully. Or because you want him to ask you to come back? I hated that question. I don't know. At least you're being honest. James called later. Public place. Yes. Good. I'm meeting my ex, not negotiating with a criminal. Those things aren't always different. Very funny. His voice became serious. Ethan, listen to me. You can hear him without giving him another chance. I know. Do you? I didn't answer. The next morning, I arrived early. I ordered coffee and sat near the window. For years, Daniel and I had treated expensive places like proof that we were doing well. Fancy restaurants, private clubs, hotels with views we couldn't afford when we first met. This cafe had small tables, ordinary cups, and nothing to impress anyone. It felt right. When Daniel walked inside, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked tired. His clothes were still expensive, but they no longer made him look confident. His shoulders were tense, and his eyes kept searching the room until they found me. He walked over slowly. Hi. Hi. Can I sit? You asked this time. A small, painful smile crossed his face. I deserve that. Yes. He sat down. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, Daniel looked at my coffee. You still drink it without sugar. Some things survived. His smile disappeared. Ethan, why did you ask to see me? He looked down. Things are bad. I leaned back. With Oliver. With everything. I waited. Daniel rubbed his hands together. I didn't know how bad his situation was. What situation? His business. I heard about it. You knew. James knows people. Daniel nodded slowly. Then you know Oliver wasn't as successful as he said. So you were both lying to each other. His face tightened. I wasn't lying about everything. Then tell me what was real. He looked directly at me. I loved you. My chest tightened. I said nothing. Daniel continued. I know you don't believe me. I don't know what I believe anymore. I did love you. Did you love me when you left? Yes. Did you love me when you kept my card? He looked away. Ethan. Answer me. Yes. The answer hurt more than I expected. I laughed quietly. Then your version of love is dangerous. He closed his eyes. I know. For the first time, I didn't hear an excuse in his voice. I heard exhaustion. He opened his eyes again. I thought I was choosing a better life. I stared at him. Then I said the words that had been forming inside me for weeks. No, you were choosing a more expensive one. Daniel looked down. I continued. You didn't leave because Oliver was better than me. You left because you thought his life looked bigger. I was scared. Of what? Going backwards. I frowned. What does that mean? I grew up watching my mother worry about money every day. I promised myself I would never live like that. So you used me? His silence answered. I felt anger rise, but this time I didn't let it control me. You know what hurts the most? What? You could have told me the truth. I was ashamed. You should have been. Daniel nodded. I was. The waitress passed our table, and for a moment the conversation stopped. Then Daniel spoke again. The wedding didn't happen. I know. Not just because of the hotel. I looked at him. Oliver and I started fighting after that day. About money. About everything. I waited. Daniel swallowed. He blamed me. And you blamed me. At first. I almost smiled. At least you're honest now. I wasn't ready to see what I'd done. And now? Daniel looked directly at me. Now I don't have anyone left to blame. His words stayed between us. For years, I had waited for Daniel to take responsibility. Now that he finally was, I wasn't sure what I wanted from him. He reached into his coat pocket. I brought something for you. My heart stopped for a moment. What? He didn't answer. Instead, he placed a worn envelope on the table. I recognized it immediately. My father's handwriting. And suddenly, every answer I thought I wanted no longer seemed as important as the letter lying between us. I stared at the envelope without touching it. Where did you get this? Daniel lowered his eyes. I found it when I was packing my things. You had it? Yes. For how long? Since before I left. I picked it up slowly. This belonged to me. I know. Then why didn't you return it? Daniel gave a tired laugh. I don't have a good answer. That seems to be a pattern. I know. I turned the envelope over in my hands. My father's handwriting looked exactly as I remembered it. For a moment, I was no longer sitting across from Daniel. I was 16 again. My father was alive. Everything felt simpler. Daniel watched me carefully. I'm sorry. I looked up. For taking the letter. For all of it. That's a big word, Daniel. I know. No, I don't think you do. He flinched. I continued. You say you're sorry, but do you understand what you did to me? Yes. Tell me. He took a breath. I used your kindness. I waited. I kept your card because I believed you would forgive me. Go on. I thought that no matter how angry you became, eventually you would help me. Why? Because you always did. That hurt because it was true. Daniel looked down. I knew how to make you feel guilty. My hands tightened around the envelope. You did. I know. You would ask if I trusted you. He nodded, and then I would feel like the bad person for asking questions. I know. You made me apologize for noticing my own money disappearing. His eyes filled with tears. I know. I wanted to comfort him. The old version of me would have. I would have reached across the table and told him everything was okay. But nothing was okay. So I stayed where I was. Daniel wiped his face. Can we start again? The question I had feared was finally there. For one dangerous second, I almost said yes. I remembered our first apartment. The broken heating. The cheap furniture. Daniel laughing while we ate takeaway on the floor. I remembered lying awake beside him, talking about the future. I remembered loving him before money became part of every decision. Or maybe I remembered a version of him that had only existed in my mind. Daniel leaned forward. Ethan, please. I closed my eyes. Then I remembered the hotel. The guests. His hand around my arm. His voice telling me not to make things difficult. All while he had spent my money to marry another man. I opened my eyes. I spent years thinking losing you would destroy me. Daniel's face changed. But losing myself was worse. He began to cry. And something inside me broke again. Not because I wanted him back. Because I finally understood that loving someone did not mean becoming responsible for saving them. Daniel covered his face. I'm sorry. I believe you're sorry. He looked up quickly. Then. But that doesn't change my answer. His hope disappeared. I felt the pain, but I didn't feel responsible for fixing it. That was new. That was freedom. I opened my father's letter carefully. Inside, I found only a few lines. My hands shook as I read them. Never confuse being needed with being loved. I read the sentence again. Then again. Daniel whispered. He was a wise man. I folded the letter. Yes. For years, I had confused Daniel needing me with Daniel choosing me. Every problem I solved had made me feel important. Every bill I paid had made me believe I had a place in his life. But being useful was not the same as being loved. And I had finally learned the difference. Daniel stood slowly. Is this goodbye? I looked at him. Yes. Forever. I don't know what forever means anymore. He nodded through his tears. Thank you for meeting me. I almost laughed. It was strange how those words could hurt after everything. I stood and placed the letter safely inside my jacket. Daniel looked like he wanted to say more. I didn't wait for him to decide. I walked toward the door. Ethan. I stopped. I'm sorry I learned your value after losing you. I closed my eyes for 1 second. Then I opened the door. This time, I walked away without anger. Without revenge. Without needing him to chase me. And for the first time, I did not look back. Several months passed after I walked out of that cafe. At first, I expected to feel empty. Instead, I felt quiet. Maya noticed the change before I did. You didn't check your phone once during dinner. I looked at her. Is that unusual? For you? Extremely. I was hungry. She laughed. That's not what I mean. We were sitting in my kitchen, eating food Maya had insisted on bringing because, according to her, I still didn't know how to cook anything that wasn't expensive and delivered. You used to answer every call, she said. Business calls. Daniel calls. I put my fork down. There aren't any Daniel calls anymore. I know. And nothing. I'm just saying, you seem different. I thought about it. Different how? Less desperate. I raised an eyebrow. That sounds insulting. It isn't. I'm offended anyway. Maya smiled. You used to act like everything would collapse if you weren't controlling it. I run a company. You ran your entire life like a company. That made me laugh. Then I stopped. Because she was right. A few days later, James and I were leaving a meeting when he looked at me. You seem happier. I smiled. I think I'm just quieter now. James nodded. That might be the healthiest thing you've ever said. Don't get used to it. I wasn't planning to. We walked toward the lift. Then James stopped. Seriously, Ethan? What? You're different. I know. No, I don't think you do. I looked at him. He continued. You used to stay at the office until midnight. I still work. Not like before. I learned that being exhausted doesn't make me important. James smiled. Who are you, and what did you do with my business partner? I pushed the lift button. Very funny. No, I'm serious. You even took a weekend off. Once. That's progress. The doors opened. Before stepping inside, I looked at him. James. Yeah. Thanks. His expression changed. For what? For not letting me become an idiot forever. He laughed. I didn't succeed. Don't ruin the moment. My life slowly became smaller in ways that felt better. I stopped buying things simply because I could. I stopped measuring people by what they could offer me. And I stopped believing that money could make someone stay. One afternoon, Amelia called. I have an update. I sat back in my chair. About Daniel. Yes. My body tensed automatically. I hated that it still did. What happened? Nothing legal. That sounds suspicious. She laughed. I meant there's nothing you need to do. Then why call? I thought you should know that the remaining financial matters are settled. I was quiet. And Daniel? You asked me not to discuss his private life. I did. Good. I'm glad you remember. I smiled. Amelia paused. Are you okay? Yes. Really? I looked around my office. For the first time in years, I didn't feel trapped inside it. Yes. Really. That evening, I found a letter waiting at my apartment. I recognized Daniel's handwriting immediately. For several minutes, I didn't open it. Maya, who had come over without warning again, noticed. From him. Yes. Want me to throw it away? No. You sure? No. She sat beside me. Then read it. I opened the envelope. Daniel's letter was short. There were no excuses. No requests. No promises. He wrote that his relationship with Oliver was over. He admitted that he had spent too long chasing a life that looked impressive instead of building one that was honest. Then came the sentence that surprised me most. I don't expect you to answer. I don't expect forgiveness. I only wanted to say that I understand why you left. I read it twice. Maya watched me. What did he say? He apologized. And he didn't ask for anything. She nodded slowly. That matters. Yes. Do you believe him? I folded the letter. This time, I did. But believing his apology didn't mean I wanted him back. For the first time, I understood that forgiveness and reconciliation were not the same thing. I could release the anger without reopening the door. I placed Daniel's letter beside my father's. Maya looked at both envelopes. Are you going to keep them? Yes. Why? I thought for a moment. One reminds me what I lost. And the other? One reminds me what I learned. Maya smiled. That sounds almost wise. Don't tell James. Too late. I laughed, and the strange thing was, for once, the sound didn't feel forced. I wasn't waiting for Daniel to regret losing me anymore. I wasn't waiting for karma to punish him. I was finally learning how to live without needing either. A few weeks later, James asked me to attend a business event. I looked at the invitation. Then I looked at him. You have to be joking. What? The Grand Kensington? He smiled. That's the problem. You know exactly why that's a problem. Ethan, it's a business event. It's also where my ex tried to pay for his wedding with my black card. James shrugged. That does make it memorable. I stared at him. You're enjoying this. A little. I sighed. Fine. I'll go. The evening of the event, I stood outside the hotel for several seconds before entering. The same doors. The same entrance. The same building where I had once felt my entire life falling apart. But this time, I wasn't angry. I wasn't there for Daniel. I was there for myself. As soon as I entered, I heard a familiar voice. Mr. Walker. I turned. Sophie. She smiled. It's good to see you again. You too. She looked around dramatically. Did you bring your black card? I laughed. No. I'm trying to travel lighter these days. She smiled. That might be wise. I've heard. We stood quietly for a moment. Then Sophie asked, How are you? I thought about giving her the usual answer. Busy. Fine. Same as always. Instead, I said, Better. Good. You know, I hated this place for a while. I can understand why. But I don't anymore. Sophie nodded. Sometimes places aren't responsible for what happened inside them. That stayed with me as I walked toward the event hall. For the rest of the evening, I spoke with clients, laughed with James, and listened without checking my phone every few minutes. At one point, James leaned beside me. You're doing it again. What? Standing quietly. Apparently, that's my new personality. He smiled. I approve. Don't get emotional. Too late. After the event ended, I walked back through the hotel lobby alone. I stopped near the same place where Daniel had grabbed my arm. For a moment, I could almost hear his voice. Ethan, please. Don't do this to me. Back then, I thought the hotel incident was the end of everything. Now I understood it differently. It was the beginning. I had thought Daniel stole my black card. But the truth was deeper than that. For years, I had handed people pieces of myself because I was afraid they would leave if I stopped giving. Daniel did not destroy me. He forced me to see what I had been doing to myself. I had used money to hide my fear. I had confused being useful with being loved. I had believed sacrifice could create loyalty. It couldn't. And when the hotel stopped Daniel's wedding that day, everyone thought his humiliation was the story. It wasn't. That was the day I finally stopped paying for a love that was never mine to buy. I reached inside my jacket and touched my father's letter. For months, I had carried it everywhere. Not because I needed the past, but because I needed to remember what the past had taught me. I pulled it out and read the words again. Never confuse being needed with being loved. I smiled. This time, the words didn't hurt. They set me free. I put the letter back into my pocket and walked toward the exit. Outside, London was loud, cold, and alive. My phone vibrated. For a second, my old instincts returned. I reached for it. Then I stopped. Whatever message waited could wait. I looked ahead and kept walking. I didn't know what Daniel's life would become. I didn't know whether he would ever truly change. And finally, I understood that I didn't need to know. His punishment was never the point. My freedom was. Sometimes karma is not about destroying the person who betrayed you. Sometimes it is simply watching them realize that the person they took for granted has finally learned how to live without them. I walked away from the Grand Kensington without revenge in my heart. Without anger. Without a need to prove that I had won. Because I finally understood something better. I hadn't won by losing Daniel. I had won when I stopped losing myself. And this time, I never looked back.